Hello, everyone. Welcome to LoveWell podcast. My name is Anna.
And my name is Marlen.
And we are so excited you're joining us. We had this idea a few months ago, and here we are. So we're just learning as we go. So
Please have a lot of grace with us. We don't know anything about podcasting, but here we are. We're excited to just have real conversations and, just go into who we are, how we met, the why behind this podcast. And so
perfect.
Anna, do you want to tell us, who are you? So for those who do not know you, can get to know who you are.
Yeah, let's do it. So I am Anna. I'm originally from Hilton Head, South Carolina. So from the coast, beach girl. I was born and raised there. And then I moved up to Columbia, South Carolina for college. Went there for public relations and graduated and came up to Charlotte. So I've actually been in Charlotte for 8 years now, which is wild to think that I was only going to move here for a couple years and then move to San Diego or somewhere across the world. And that did not happen. We're still here. But I had the privilege of meeting Marlen about 4 years ago, and we connected through a church small group. And we've been friends ever since. We actually both don't go to that same church, but we kept the friendship going.
The friendship kept going.
So that has been a fun ride, just to learn from Marlen and her story and her background, and just to be able to, have that experience and that perspective from someone that's not even from the States. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Of course. Well, first, can I just say, I just learned some new things about you right now. I was like, even though we've been friends for almost 5 years now, I was like, oh, wait, I don't think I knew that. But anyway.
That will probably happen a lot, to be honest.
I love it. So my name is Marlen Lane, and as Anna said, I am actually not from the U.S., I was born and raised in a beautiful small country in Central America called Honduras. So, long story short, I married my husband, John, who is from the U.S., and we ended up here in Charlotte almost 6 years now. It's going to be 6 years in October. And, so a part of our journey and friendship, as me being an immigrant in this country and all the beauty and the hardships that come with that, immigrating to a new place, not new language because I'm bilingual, but definitely English is not my first language. So even having to get used to being in a primarily English, country where that's the main language that's spoken. So so many things into that we'll dive into
definitely
later. But so a little bit about my background as well. I went to school and college in my home country. I actually majored in marketing.
Nice.
I don't do it, but I haven't worked in a marketing job per se, full time. But it was what was available for me in Honduras. Then I'm also a worship leader. And I've been doing that since I was 13 years old. So that definitely it's my comfort, my exciting. I love to lead worship and sing. And I still do it to this day. I'm actually a worship leader at my local church, and I get to do that in different capacities. But
I love that. I guess we should mention we both are ministry driven. I actually work for Proverbs 31 Ministries in Charlotte area. I've been there 6 years now, which is also kind of wild that I've been on staff for that long. But I get to do the graphic design, so web design, graphic design for most of the stuff that we put out. So that's been fun and encouraging to be able to teach myself graphic design and then to use it in a way that honors God and really does align with my faith and all of that too. So
that's awesome. Well, you will continue to get to know who we are as we record more episodes and, just share more of our stories. But let's share with everyone why LoveWell, why this podcast, how it started for us.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Honestly, we really didn't have a plan to do this for a long time, but we have been friends for a handful of years now. And so I think just whenever we've been able to catch up and go to coffee shops and meet with each other and do life together, it's always come up in conversation. I think we've always felt like there's definitely a common thread of our heartbeat for people and just loving people well and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis, but also in, corporate world. I mean, like I said, we work in ministry, but even in the corporate world, what that looks like with your families, what that looks like, with our coworkers and just all of the people that we get to come across and interact with. I think we both have very strong passions with how that looks like to love them well and to love ourselves well. And like we mentioned, just with the ministry side of things, also how to love God well. I think it kind of translates into all different areas of our lives, but it really has started kind of just from the friendship that we've built. Just being able to have open conversation and open dialogue with how to love people well that, immigrated here, like Marlen herself. So our hope and our prayer for this, I think, is to be able to have an educational piece attached to it.
For sure.
And I think Marlen is very well knowledgeable and has a lot of insight to offer. But I think by no way are we experts in this field. I think it's just a passion of ours from learning along the way, of us being friends, but just having those things, I think is the heartbeat behind all of this.
Yeah, and I think that also as believers and Christians, we are commanded to love our people, to love people, period. And I think that at the heart of the gospel and at the heart of Jesus' heart is people. So that the way that looks, the way that happens is going to look different for everybody. But I think that we can all, I know personally, I can always love people better, there have been many times, many of my closest people can tell you that I have not loved people well, and owning up to that and knowing that we are all a work in progress.
Yes, exactly.
But we wanted to make this space to have the conversations, even the hard conversations. Like, I know we have talked about, hey, what if we talk about how to love well when we disagree, which is hard, especially in the
very much
just the world around us, right? Not only here in the U.S., but just like in the whole world. Like there's a lot that's happening, and it's easy to forget how to be intentional about loving people. We can get caught up in just worldly things and that take the precedence of people. And I think in one of our conversations we were saying, like, Jesus, break my heart for what breaks yours, and that it's not an easy task. It's not an easy thing. It's a daily decision. Like, it's a day to day where we have to choose to love people. Love is not just feeling, but like a decision. So you will get to hear from many perspectives. It's not going to be just us here talking about that, because this is, we have, even within our experiences, just one limited view of things. So we will be excited to invite our friends and people that we know to also teach us and for us to talk through, like, what does it look like to love well the people around us within, like, our families, our friends, coworkers, all the things that come with that. So anyway.
So good. I think something else we want to mention too is just, I know, Marlen's story is different than mine and everyone has a different story, but I think there's beauty in that. And I love being able to hear people's stories because there's such unique differences in everyone's lives, different upbringings, different backgrounds, different understandings of things. And so I think we want to also just throw it out there that we understand everyone's on a different journey that's going to be listening to this as well. And so we invite you into this conversation no matter where you are on this journey. And we would love to just, whether that's like we said, have the, educational side to help you out and for you to learn some things, whether it's just to hear other people's stories and to be encouraged that maybe it's something similar that you're dealing with or you've dealt with, and this is a safe space for you to feel like, man, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
This has happened to other people. This is not just me.
Yes, no, I'm very excited because we also want to approach this from like a very humble place, and I want to make sure, because it's a very big topic, and I was a little nervous at the beginning too, just like, oh, okay, we're going to talk about how to love well, it feels like just
overwhelming.
It's big. It's big because it's a challenging thing for each of us to really love people well, because everyone. I think that last time we met, we mentioned something along the lines like we all need love in a specific way too, which makes it more complex.
Oh, because definitely
we're complex human beings. And it's like, how can I learn to love you well? But to love each other well, it means stepping into each other's stories, and then the stories is just the beginning to actually doing life with each other. And then when life happens, we know that we're broken people. And then loving each other as Jesus calls us to love each other is like a big sacrifice.
Definitely.
But it's something that we're called to. So
I
anyway.
love that. I love that. Awesome. So we also wanted to kind of explain what you can expect with this podcast, because I think there's a lot of podcasts out there. So we just wanted to give you a top tier vision of what it would look like to listen to us talk about all of this. But you can expect this to be, like we said before, just a safe place first and foremost, for people to share their stories, for there to be vulnerability. I know Marlen and I, like I said, have walked through almost 5 years of friendship. And so that is not something that we have mastered by any means, but I think just by being friends, there's a space for vulnerability that even just us, work through ourselves with that too. But this is also going to be a fun adventure of just learning and laughing.
Welcome
but also,
to the journey.
It's a journey.
It's
everyone.
a journey. Yeah, yes.
But we're also going to make sure that, as we mentioned, we are both believers in God. And I think it's very necessary not to just have these conversations as more perspective or opinion based, but also truth based. And so we want to make sure that we're, biblically aligning with what Scripture says on these things as well. But also just having a space for real conversation. I think that's sometimes very uncommon these days.
Yeah.
And it seems like more and more people have surface level conversation. So I definitely think this is somewhere that you'll expect more real conversation to come out of, and just also, like we mentioned before, with a posture of humility. We don't want to act like we're experts. We don't want to act like
we're not
our
here to
stories
teach you.
are the only things. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just here to kind of process through these things ourselves.
Yeah.
And as you listen, as you tune in, hopefully you can process some of it as well.
Yeah, and just share, stories, things that the Lord has done in and through us and the people around us, and just being able to share with you all, because I think it's easy to get caught up in just sharing what we're against, but what we're for and for people. So I'm excited to bring that. Doesn't mean that we're going to shy away from hard conversations, because we will. I mean, we're going to talk about immigration, and I know that already so many people are like, when they hear it, and from a foreigner's perspective, it's been very interesting to be an immigrant and experience all the things that come with that, and see, how people react to that word. It's like it has a lot with it, but we want to disarm it in a way and bring it back to like, hey, we're not going to talk about, all these policies and things. We're going to talk about people. Like these are people that we want to bring to the center of all these things that have become very weaponized, or just like that we have forgotten the people at the heart of all these things. So, super excited about that. And we're going to keep Jesus at the center of all of it, because he's at the center of our lives. And, and about loving. It's like Jesus is love. So, this is the whole thing. So anyway,
it's fair to say
exciting.
we're going to be talking about loving people well, majority wise. But I also just want to say too, for those that are listening that might not have the same story as Marlen and maybe don't even know a ton about immigration when we get into that, I am right there with you. And I think that's what's beautiful about our decision to start this podcast, because we kind of have both perspectives in this, and we're able to come at it from, I'm more so coming at it from an educational, what can I understand better? How can I love Marlen better, knowing the experiences that she's been through and I might not have. We're going to have people that are on here as guests that will also have different stories as well. So I think whether you feel like, oh, this applies to me or this doesn't, I think it will be good for everyone.
Yeah. What else can we expect? I will say, on a personal note, English is not my first language. So there will be times that I will say something in a different way. Because sometimes my brain, I think in two languages and I get stuck. And if you talk to my husband, John, he will be like, what did you say? Wait, or sometimes I flip a word or like a sentence. And he's like, okay, babe, what do you mean? Trying to explain it. So you will hear that. And that's part of being, real and being bilingual. And so just wanted to say that, have grace with me. If you're like, wait, what did she say?
Oh, for sure. And we're going to have to get John on the podcast, of course.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He'll have to make an appearance for sure. We love John.
Yes, he's awesome. So I think that this is the welcome to the LoveWell podcast. This is it. Here we are. We're excited. I'm not going to lie, a little nervous, but, expectant of what God will do in us as we continue to walk this out and create more content and just, record more episodes.
We're just excited you guys are tuning in, and we can't wait to share more. Have a good day.
Have a good day.